When a brother or sister leaves this world by suicide, many hearts wonder, what happens next? Fears, old beliefs, and the weight of guilt make this transition a veiled topic, often accompanied by suffering for those who remain and for those who cross the threshold of existence. However, it is necessary to understand that life does not end. Consciousness continues, and in God's love, no one is lost. Divine mercy welcomes all souls, regardless of their pain, their choices, and their stumbling blocks. In the spiritual world, everyone is welcomed according to their state of soul. Pain persists for a while, but never without support. The guides, true friends of the eternal journey, are present. The invisible hands of love do not condemn or punish, but welcome with patience, offering new opportunities for learning and growth. There is no eternal hell, but rather a process of awakening, where each spirit revisits its decisions and gradually finds new ways to move forward. Feelings of guilt and regret often imprison the departed, but the light is always accessible. Imagine a young man who, overcome by despair, has interrupted his journey. Upon awakening on the spiritual plane, he finds himself shrouded in the shadows of his own mind. The pain is still there, but not as a punishment, but as a reflection of what has been left unresolved. Gradually, loving guides approach him, respecting his time, and showing him that love has never been absent. At that moment, a great truth dawns on us. We are understood, not judged. God is love, and his laws are for progress. No matter how dark the night of despair, there will always be a new dawn. And here, my brothers and sisters, lies hope. Compassion is the bridge that leads us back to the light. The universe's greatest invitation to us is to understand that every experience has a purpose. If you are here, reading these words, perhaps it is because you are looking for answers to your own journey, or want to understand and help someone who is going through moments of doubt. What if I told you that you could be a point of light for those who are still trapped in their own pain? Thought, prayer, and the sincere intention of love can reach those who are suffering, gradually freeing them from the weight they carry. Just as a home welcomes those returning after a long and difficult journey, the spiritual plane also prepares healing spaces for those who, overcome by suffering, have chosen to interrupt their earthly journey. In these places, there is no censorship, but rather rehabilitation, love, and learning. Gradually, the wounds soften, the anguish dissipates, and understanding broadens. The pain experienced on earth is transformed into wisdom, and new opportunities for growth arise, whether on the spiritual plane or in future reincarnations. Imagine waking up in a place where time no longer exists as it did before. There are no clock hands or calendars marking the days. Everything is perception, sensation, and learning. What if I told you that your consciousness continues to learn, even beyond the last breath? There is no end to the spirit, only transformation. Many believe that death is the end, but what if it's just a change of class within the same school? Every experience leaves its mark. Moments of joy teach us about gratitude, while those of pain sculpt resilience into our essence. A mistake is not a punishment, it's a lesson. When we cross the threshold of earthly existence, we don't take material goods with us, but rather what we have learned. If life is a school, death is a change of level, and those who leave before their time, burdened by the pain of suicide, don't find emptiness, but a call to understanding. What if you could review every decision you made? What if you could feel, no longer selfishly, but with an expanded view of the universe, the impact of your choices on the world and on others? Many who cross the threshold of existence report a moment of retrospection, where consciousness expands and everything becomes clear. Life doesn't condemn, it instructs. What was once incomprehensible now makes sense. The great truth is that none of us is lost. Even those who choose to leave early find a way to learn. Spirit guides assist in the process, offering clarity and direction. Nothing is fixed or predestined to eternal suffering. The journey continues, and with it, the chance to start again. But it is up to each spirit to accept this opportunity. Have you ever wondered what it means to evolve? Is it just an abstract concept or an accessible reality? Spiritual learning doesn't just happen in temples or in holy books. It lies in observing small details, in the silence of thoughts and in reflecting on one's own actions. We are all in a continuous process of growth. The more aware we become of this, the faster we learn. The question that remains is, are you paying attention to the teachings that life and the universe are offering you? Or are you allowing the same mistakes to be repeated, cycle after cycle, without absorbing the lessons? Every moment of pain can be a valuable teacher. Suffering is not an unfair burden, but an invitation to awaken. Are you ready to see beyond the pain and understand what really needs to be transformed? What happens at the very moment when earthly life ends? Is it the end, or just a passage to something greater? For those who commit suicide, the transition is a plunge into the unknown, where the consciousness, free from the physical body, comes face to face with its own essence. Unlike what many fear, there is no eternal condemnation or punishment imposed by a severe deity. What there is an encounter with inner truth, a moment of absolute perception, where every choice and every emotion is revisited. Imagine for a moment that you wake up, but you don't feel the weight of your body. You look around and realize that no one else sees or hears you. The silence is mixed with an echo of thoughts and feelings that accompany you. Many spirits, when faced with this reality, feel confusion, fear, or even resistance. The consciousness refuses to accept what has happened and often projects illusory scenarios, creating a kind of alternative reality where they repeat the last moments of their life without realizing that the change has already taken place. In this period of transition, each spirit follows a path according to their emotional vibration. Those who left in deep despair may initially find themselves trapped in a state of painful introspection, reliving feelings that led them to this extreme decision. But they are not alone. The spiritual plane is governed by laws of love and learning, and loving guides approach, patiently waiting for the moment when the soul will allow themselves to be helped. Time here is not as we know it. Suffering is not a punishment, but a reflection of what still needs to be understood. And this pain can be alleviated as the spirit accepts support. For some, acceptance is quick. For others, it takes a longer period of elaboration. But there is always a way out, a new opportunity for growth. What if you could help? If you could send light, love, and prayers to these souls in transition? Thought is energy, and every gesture of compassion can be a beacon in the darkness for those who are still trapped in their own pain. We are all responsible for each other, and spiritual support can also come from the living. If life is a journey, death is just a change of route. But where does each spirit go after it leaves? The answer is intriguing. There is no single destination, but multiple possibilities, all determined by the vibratory frequency of the being. Different consciousnesses, different learnings, different realities. Some souls, when they leave the body, are immediately enveloped in light and welcomed by loving spirits. These are the ones who, even in the midst of pain, had a higher level of understanding and acceptance. They feel peace, are welcomed into spaces of healing and learning, and soon begin new phases of evolution. Others, however, carry with them doubts, fear, or revolt, and find realities that match their inner states. There are those who cling so strongly to material life that they refuse to move on. They remain stuck in the places and people they left behind, observing the world without being able to interfere, feeling isolated and misunderstood. Others may find themselves in environments of reflection, where they are invited to review their paths and understand what still needs to be transformed. Spiritual traditions speak of different vibrational spaces, spiritual cities of support, fields of regeneration, and zones of temporary suffering, not as punishment, but as learning spaces. Each spirit finds exactly what they need for their own journey. But the most important thing is to understand that nothing is fixed. Each spirit can, at any time, change its frequency, rise up, and follow new paths. There is no sealed destiny, only paths that open up as consciousness expands. Have you ever stopped to think about the energy you carry within you? Where would your spirit go if it left now? Reflection on life is also reflection on death. Those who seek to evolve in life will always be prepared for what comes next. If you feel this message made sense, share it. Knowledge transforms. Maybe your words will touch a heart that needs this understanding today. Some people believe that death is a gateway to freedom, But what happens when the soul itself refuses to cross over? When some consciousnesses leave the physical body, they find themselves trapped in a tangle of earthly emotions, thoughts, and memories. They don't move on to the light immediately, not because they are prevented from doing so, but because they still carry weights that make their journey difficult. They are called blocked souls. Imagine waking up in a world where everything seems identical to the one you knew, but with one disturbing difference. People don't listen to you, they don't see you, they don't feel you. Despair grows. You try to call someone, to touch an object, but there's no response. This is how many blocked souls live, trapped between dimensions, unable to understand that material life is behind them. But what makes a soul remain in this condition? The answer varies. Some cling to remorse, feeling unworthy of moving on. Others, driven by attachment to family, refuse to abandon their loved ones. There are also those who, confused, don't realize that they have left, repeating past routines, wandering in circles within their own illusions. However, no soul is alone. Even in darkness, there are benevolent presences trying to rescue them. Spirit guides work ceaselessly to offer light and understanding, waiting for the moment when the conscience, tired of pain, finally accepts support. But what if I told you that we, the living, can also help? Prayers, loving thoughts, and sincere intentions can be bridges to these souls. We can be the beacons that light their way, helping them to break the chains of the past. The spirit world responds to the energy we emit, and every gesture of compassion can be the key to freeing those who still wander in uncertainty. If you feel presences in your home, if recurring dreams bring you familiar faces asking for help, perhaps it's a call to act as an instrument of peace. Don't be afraid. Light always triumphs over shadows. Welcome, pray, and send love. What happens when worlds touch? When the barriers between the visible and the invisible become so subtle that voices from beyond time whisper around us. Mediumistic accounts bear witness to this encounter, proof that consciousness survives matter and ceaselessly seeks to communicate with those who still walk under the sun. One night, a medium receives a silent call. He wakes up with the feeling that something or someone is there. Closing his eyes, he feels a presence, a sad energy, full of regret. Gradually, images form in his mind. A man sitting in an old armchair, his eyes fixed on an unreachable point. He mutters, "Why can't anyone see me? Why am I still here?" Cases like this are common. Souls who have left abruptly, without understanding what happened, look to the material plane for some kind of answer. Mediumship, when handled well, can be an instrument of enlightenment and liberation. Often, all a soul needs is to be heard, understood, and directed towards the light that awaits them. The stories vary. There are those that bring messages of consolation to the living, revealing that consciousness continues and that there is no eternal suffering. Others demonstrate the power of repentance and rebuilding. The important thing is to understand that each story is a piece of the great puzzle of existence. But what about you? Have you ever felt an inexplicable chill, a whisper in the distance, a feeling that something bigger is trying to communicate? The world is full of mysteries, and it's up to us to decide if we're ready to listen to them. What happens when everything you know disappears? When the body falls silent and consciousness awakens in a world where time no longer follows the same rules? Learning doesn't end with the last heartbeat. On the contrary, it is at that moment that many truths are revealed and the great journey of the soul continues. If life is a school, death is merely the passage to a new level of knowledge. Imagine for a moment that you wake up in a space of soft light, feeling immense relief, as if all the weight of human worries had been left behind. But along with this peace comes the realization: everything you've done, every choice, every word, every emotion is still with you. Learning is not a judgment, but an honest review of the journey you've been on. What would you do if you could feel the impact of your actions on others? If every gesture was reflected back to you? This process is called a life review, a moment when the soul revisits the main events of its existence. But contrary to what many people fear, there is no implacable court or harsh judge. The greatest judgment is that of one's own conscience. Each spirit, upon realizing the consequences of its attitudes, feels the joy of the moments when it spread good, but also the pain of the times when it hurt itself or others. For some souls, this awakening is liberating. They accept the teachings, understand their mistakes, and move on to new experiences of growth. For others, the weight of regret can be a difficult burden to carry. Some get stuck in a cycle of guilt and regret, unable to move on. But here is the truth that few understand. There is always another chance. Learning is never sterile. All pain can be transformed into wisdom. What if you knew that you could still change your path now? That every choice you make today impacts not only this life, but also your journey after death? Evolution is an infinite process. Those who accept learning move on to new dimensions, exploring deeper knowledge, rediscovering old affections, and preparing for greater challenges. Those who resist, however, remain in repetitive cycles, trapped in emotions they can't let go of. There is no eternal punishment. There is only the constant opportunity to grow. The afterlife is a space for understanding and learning, but it all starts here, now, with every choice you make. So ask yourself, am I learning the lessons that life offers me, or am I running away from them? Suggestion for improvement. To increase the emotional impact, we could add accounts of mediumship experiences, bringing in stories of souls who have gone through the process of learning after death. We can also create a stronger interaction with the reader, inviting them to reflect on their own moments in life and how their actions can echo in the future. If this message made sense to you, share it. Perhaps someone around you needs to hear that it's never too late to learn and evolve. After all, life goes on, in all its forms. Who hasn't felt a whisper in the depths of their soul, an inexplicable intuition, a silent warning at moments of decision? Is it coincidence or invisible presences accompanying us? In the spiritual world, the soul's journey is never solitary. Each of us has spiritual guides, elevated consciousnesses who support us, advise us, and lead us in moments of darkness. But what role do these beings really play in our existence, and, even more so, in the afterlife? When we cross the threshold of earthly existence, we are often filled with doubt and confusion. After all, death is not a simple blackout, but an awakening to a new reality. Spirit guides act as silent friends at this time, preparing the soul to understand its new condition. But what if the conscience is gripped by fear? What if guilt, attachment, or rebellion are so intense that they prevent the spirit from moving forward? This is where the guides exercise their infinite patience. They remain present, waiting for the moment when the soul, tired of its own pain, finally accepts support. The guide's mission is not to force, but to illuminate paths. There are those who communicate through intuition, others manifest in dreams, and some use mediums as bridges between worlds. But their intention is always the same: to help the soul evolve. No matter how lost a spirit may be, there will always be a guide trying to bring it back to the light. Now, think for a moment. How many times have you ignored a sign, a subtle warning that seemed to want to steer you away from danger? What if that instinct that saved your life was actually the invisible hand of a guide? Connecting with spirit guides is not the privilege of a few. We can all strengthen this bond through sincere prayer, inner silence, and a willingness to listen to what goes beyond the material world. The call is always there. You just have to open your heart to perceive it. If life is full of pain, what happens to souls who leave suffering? There are those who believe that death is a final rest, a relief from the pains of earthly existence. But the spiritual reality is more complex. The pains of the soul do not disappear simply because we leave the body. However, the universe is also merciful. For every wounded spirit, there are places of healing. Imagine a space bathed in soft light, where everything vibrates in harmony. There, time is not measured by days or hours, but by the rhythm of one's own learning. These places are true rest stations, where debilitated souls receive help before moving on to new experiences. Many describe these spaces as flower gardens, spiritual hospitals, or energy temples. Everyone perceives them according to their own consciousness, but they all share the same goal: to restore the essence of those who come there. The healing process can be quick or lengthy. Souls who have left abruptly or are burdened with guilt may take longer to open up to spiritual treatment, but no one is abandoned. The guides and benefactors of these places wait patiently for each consciousness to accept the help it needs to move on. And here a question arises. How many of us, still alive, are preparing for this transition? How many emotional pains are we accumulating in the hope that one day they will simply disappear? The truth is that we can start this healing process now. Compassion, forgiveness, and the search for emotional balance are keys to facilitating our journey into the afterlife. The places of healing exist, but the greatest preparation for them begins with the way we lead our own lives. What if I told you that death is not the end, that the departed continue to walk beside us, invisible to the eye but perceptible to the heart? Since time immemorial, the living have felt the presence of the departed. They are whispers in the silence of the night. They are dreams that seem all too real. They are forebodings that cannot be ignored. But how does this connection work? What determines when and how a departed soul tries to communicate? The truth is that connections between dimensions happen all the time. Some are subtle, like that sudden intuition to change paths, an unexpected shiver, or a familiar smell that comes out of nowhere. Others are more direct, objects changing place without explanation, lights flashing for no apparent reason, or recurring dreams with a clear message. But for this communication to take place in a healthy way, a balance is needed between the two planes. Not all souls who attempt contact are at peace. Some seek help, trying to free themselves from emotional ties that still bind them to the physical world. Others just want to reassure those left behind that they are fine and that life goes on. And there are those who take on the role of protector, guiding their loved ones through small signs and synchronicities. But are you attentive to these signs? Are you willing to listen with your heart? The bridge between the living and the dead is made of energy and intention. Sincere prayer, gratitude, and loving thought strengthen this bond, creating a safe and positive channel for spiritual communication. Fear and doubt, on the other hand, create barriers, preventing the message from being received. There are those who believe that this connection is the privilege of mediums or people with special gifts. But the reality is different. We all have the ability to feel and connect. The key is emotional openness and vibrational attunement. If you've ever felt a presence, had a revealing dream, or noticed unexplained signs around you, perhaps it's time to accept this reality. Death doesn't separate, it just changes the way we communicate. And often, the departed are just waiting for us to listen to them with our hearts. Life and death are just two sides of the same existence. We are not alone. We never have been. Every moment of pain, every farewell, is actually an invitation to understand that love transcends the boundaries of time and space. But to see this, you have to abandon fear and embrace knowledge. But you don't have to walk this path alone. Here, we will continue to explore together the hidden truths, the teachings left by departed souls, and the signs that the universe sends us every day. So, if you want to continue this journey, if you want to learn more about life after death and how to connect with the spirit world, subscribe to the channel now. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any videos, and share this message with someone who needs to hear it. Who knows? Maybe you'll be the instrument to awaken another soul looking for answers. See you in the next video. May light and wisdom always be on your path.